More backstage details on Jimmy Jacobs' AEW departure, as well as AEW's creative shakeup moving forward. Just what is the future for AEW Rampage and AEW Battle of the Bouts, now that the brand new AEW WBD media rights deal has been confirmed? Jimmy Uso unsuccessfully attempts to mend fences with his brother Jey Uso on Monday Night Raw. The reason why MJF is possibly a heel in his resumed feud with Adam Cole moving forward has possibly been revealed. Switchblade Jay White is going to face off with Christian Cage on AEW Dynamite this week, as well as we're going to have the debut match in AEW of Shelton Benjamin on the show. AJ Styles seemingly confirms his legitimate injury. We'll let you know all the details on that one. Just what is the current contract status for Joe Hendry in TNA Wrestling? We'll let you know the details about that. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair retained their Women's Tag Team Championships last night on Raw. The War Raiders return to WWE. Eric and Ivar are back on Raw. Plus, we have the ratings for Friday's edition of SmackDown on USA Network and AEW Rampage on TNT. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with more details on the AEW departure of creative team member Jimmy Jacobs. A lot of people talking about this over the last several days and just what it's going to mean for AEW moving forward. Now, Jimmy Jacobs, of course, has parted ways with AEW after serving on the promotion's creative division since June of last year. The split was reportedly amicable, but a slew of reports have flooded in about alleged backstage disagreements, boasting claims that Jacobs was strongly against pushing Daniel Garcia, among other stories. However, people shouldn't read into that negatively. Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer looked into the matter on an episode of Wrestling Observer Radio and attempted to shine some light on the truth about his relationship with the promotion. Alvarez noted that there is a possibility that Jacobs could return down the line, while Meltzer claimed that his sources didn't mention anything about rejoining at a later date. Despite the unlikelihood of a return, though, nothing bad has been said about the former Ring of Honor veteran. Quote, "I was just told that the guy, aside from Tony Khan, that goes to every show, I think Jimmy Jacobs went to more shows while he was there than anyone," Meltzer noted. Meltzer pointed out that Jacobs was at every taping, and this likely led to a lot of travel, which could be why he was allegedly, quote, burnt out. Meltzer again emphasized that nobody has said anything negative about Jacobs, and he got the impression that the zombie princess made the decision himself, which Alvarez corroborated. Quote, "He did make it clear that he did not do nearly as much writing of the shows as people think he did," Meltzer added, noting that Jacobs still worked closely with Khan. He was technically not in creative, but was an assistant to Tony, but he did suggest ideas in creative. Now, as far as what he's going to be doing moving forward, well, he has actually returned to the independent scene already, because he returned to the independent scene on Saturday at XICW Detroit on October 12th. Jimmy Jacobs actually made a surprise appearance, hitting MM3 with a chair and helping Adam Wick win the Midwest Championship. Now, this was also an event that saw Trey Miguel get involved in the match. Of course, it's quite interesting that this happened over the weekend, that he did leave AEW. Now, just what is the future for shows like AEW Rampage and Battle of the Bouts now that this new media rights deal with WBD has been confirmed? Now, it's been a few weeks now since the deal was first announced, but AEW's new TV rights deal with Warner Bros. Discovery remains a heavy topic of conversation. Part of that conversation revolves around the future of AEW programs AEW Rampage and AEW Battle of the Bouts. While both AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision will continue on TBS and TNT for the duration of the new deal, the futures of Rampage and Battle of the Bouts has been less clear, with neither program being mentioned in any press release or report regarding the deal. As such, the expectation is that both AEW Rampage and Battle of the Bouts may be coming to an end, rumors that won't be going away following the reveal of certain details. On Sunday's Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer stated that Rampage isn't expected to continue much longer in its current form, though it's unclear whether the show will run to the end of the year or it will actually end its run on the air even earlier. As for Battle of the Bouts, Meltzer stated that the special wasn't included in the deal, and while it wasn't for certain that it would be done, the expectation is that the specials would also be ending. Meltzer did note, however, that while Rampage could live on in another incarnation on another network, this includes the possibility that Rampage could become Shockwave, a rumored new TV deal that AEW has reportedly been shopping around to broadcasting networks, including Fox. Meltzer confirmed that AEW was currently having 2 sets of talks regarding another show, though he noted the talks at this point weren't believed to be close to being finalized or anything like that. Now let's talk about last night's edition of Monday Night Raw on USA Network. Of course, this was actually taped last week as WWE's over here in the UK. Jimmy Uso crossed the brand divide to appear on Raw in an effort to mend fences with his twin brother and Intercontinental Champion main event Jey Uso. Just over a week from his triumphant return after 6 months to aid Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes against Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline at Bad Blood, and following on from SmackDown where he expressly called for them to get the band back together, Jimmy came face to face with Jey for the first time since their grudge match at WrestleMania 40 earlier this year. The Intercontinental Champion, of course, is preparing for a title defense against former holder Bron Breakker next week, and had previously appeared during the show to save Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods from his rival during the show, but he found himself greeted by his brother as he returned to his locker room backstage. Jimmy didn't have long to explain himself as Jey swiftly turned and walked away. In a later segment, Jimmy was shown seeking out Jey, eventually finding him coming out of another room. Jimmy asked his brother if they could talk things through, but Jey abruptly responded, "I said no," before telling him to get out of his face and walking off, leaving Jimmy to stare longingly towards his estranged twin as the segment ended. Could this be the beginning of the build to War Games, where many people have speculated we'll get a current Bloodline versus OG Bloodline? Now, going back to AEW, MJF, he's now a heel in AEW. Adam Cole, he made his return at Wrestle Dream as a babyface, but that's the other way around. The last time they were in the ring, as it was actually a babyface MJF that was attacking a heel Adam Cole. Of course, Adam Cole was the one that turned on his former best friend as the Devil late last year. Now, AEW's Wrestle Dream saw 2 of its major players return from hiatus in MJF and Adam Cole, and it now appears that AEW is poised to rekindle their storyline as if no time had passed. Now, when the feud was hot over a year ago, Cole was the heel and MJF was the babyface, but the roles have seemingly flipped, if the reaction from the Tacoma crowd was any indication. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer speculated on the reasoning for the reversal, hinting that the explanation may be as simple as MJF's preference in playing the heel. Quote, "I'm sure this was Max's idea," Meltzer said. "Max wants to be a heel. He doesn't want to be a babyface now. People were happy to see Adam Cole back, but it was weird. From a babyface heel storyline consistency thing, it's like they totally just reversed everything they had the whole angle." Now, MJF seemed to acknowledge the abrupt about face on X by saying, "Adam Cole, you've made a big mistake." He followed up by his own tweet by saying, "Also, why did you cheer him? He's literal scum." Now, AEW fans had not seen MJF since All Out, where the Salt of the Earth was written off television with a neck injury to film scenes for Adam Sandler's upcoming movie Happy Gilmore 2. It was Cole's return, however, that generated the most buzz, receiving one of the loudest reactions at Wrestle Dream. Cole has not wrestled in over a year since suffering a severe ankle injury at AEW Grand Slam 2023, where a seemingly unremarkable leap from the ramp to the floor required several surgeries and hardware to correct. However, his dead sprint to the ring at Wrestle Dream indicated that he may be close to returning to action after over a year out of the ring. Now, speaking of Dynamite this week, several matches have been announced for the show, and Jay White's quest for revenge continues. Tony Khan, the AEW president and CEO, announced that Jay White will face Christian Cage on October 16th episode of AEW Dynamite. This comes after White defeated Hangman Adam Page at AEW Wrestle Dream. Khan noted that Cage was the second man who cost White the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, so White will aim to get revenge. Of course, as I mentioned, White did defeat Hangman at that show and said that he had several people on his list he was looking to get revenge on. Now, it's not the only match that's been announced for Dynamite as well. Shelton Benjamin, he's All Elite. He officially became All Elite at the 5th anniversary edition of AEW Dynamite on October 2nd, and the identity of his first opponent in AEW has officially been revealed. AEW President Tony Khan took to his X account to announce that on October 16th episode of AEW Dynamite in San Jose, California, Benjamin will make his in-ring debut against Lio Rush. The match itself spawned out of a backstage segment that took place on the day of Wrestle Dream, where Rush announced he had signed a new multi-year deal with AEW, making him a full-time member of the roster for the first time since 2022. Benjamin and MVP interrupted Rush as they were looking for the AEW president, but when Rush fired back for having his big moment taken away from him, Benjamin threatened him before MVP calmed him down and asked Rush if he was available on Wednesday. Rush said he was, and MVP smiled before leaving to go and look for Khan. So this match has now been confirmed. As far as Benjamin, he almost got physical at Wrestle Dream, of course, during the Swerve Strickland return segment when he shoved Prince Nana, but MVP once again allowed cooler heads to prevail before anything could get out of hand. Benjamin has remained active throughout 2024 thanks to his domestic and international appearances on the independent scene for companies like The Crash, Progress, and Defy. In addition to this, AJ Styles has announced that his injury looks to be legitimate and it doesn't look to be a good one. Of course, AJ Styles returned on the October 4th episode of SmackDown and faced Carmelo Hayes, but the match was stopped after Styles suffered an apparent injury. Styles was then shown leaving the arena on crutches. WWE later announced that Styles had suffered a mid-foot ligament sprain. On October 14th, Styles took to X to respond to a fan who expressed their doubt that he was actually hurt. He then said it was called a Liz Frank injury. He said, quote, "It's called a Liz Frank injury. Look it up. It sucks. I thought when I took off my boot, I would have a bone sticking out of my foot." Now, another fan then responded to talk about this injury, saying, quote, "That's the injury that ends running back seasons and took Cam Newton out in 2016. Styles responded by saying, "Bingo, as the kids say, I'm cooked." Now, still there is speculation about how long he's going to be out of action, how legitimate the injury is, if it's being mixed with legitimacy and storyline. There had been talks of a retirement tour storyline. We'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. If we get any more details, of course, we'll let you know in a future video. Now, Joe Hendry, just what is going on with Joe Hendry? How long is he under contract to TNA Wrestling? On October 14th, Joe Hendry fueled some heavy speculation after responding to a Twitter user who said, "Kinda crazy how fast Joe Hendry fell off the radar." Hendry responded with, quote, "Kinda crazy how poorly that tweet will age in about 4 months. This led to a lot of online speculation that Hendry will appear in the WWE Royal Rumble, which takes place in February. Before that, he's taken on Nick Nemeth in a TNA World Heavyweight Championship match that numerous people in the company have pushed for him to win. Those that Fightful have spoken to in TNA say that Hendry looks to be a focal point on their show in 2025. Despite the buzz and attention going forwards, Hendry and the Royal Rumble are moving forwards next year. TNA sources also claim that Hendry's contract with the company runs until at least late 2025, so as of right now, he's locked in to TNA Wrestling. Hendry is also participating in a Detroit media tour with the Hardy Boys next week to promote TNA Bound for Glory on October 26th at the Wayne State Fieldhouse. Now, going back to Raw last night, the Women's Tag Team Championships are staying where they are for now, with Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson watching ringside. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair put their Women's Tag Team Championships on the line against Kairi Sane and Io Sky of Damage Control on Monday Night Raw. By the end of the night, the champions stood tall, titles in hand, with a bit of assistance from the NXT Tag Team. Cargill and Sky started off the match with Belair tagging in and joining her partner to double-team Sky and isolate her. Sane tagged in and they repaid the favor by double-teaming Belair. Sane took her down with a flying crossbody on the outside. Cargill took Sane down with a backbreaker and a powerbomb. Following a missile dropkick to Belair, Damage Control double-teamed her once more. Sane hit an elbow drop, but as Sky went for the over-the-moonsault, Belair rolled out of the ring to help Cargill and sent Sane into the barricade. The finish then actually saw a bit of a distraction here because on the outside, the champions had a bit of a back and forth with Legend and Jackson. Sky took advantage of their distraction, but Jackson grabbed Sky by the hair so Legend could punch her in the jaw while the referee was looking elsewhere. Back in the ring, Belair hit the KOD on Sky to retain the titles. Now, this finish would suggest that Legend and Jackson could be getting involved in a program with Damage Control after coming up short in their own bid for the tag titles on Friday SmackDown. Of course, a match that was briefly interrupted by Kevin Owens. The War Raiders are on WWE television. Eric and Ivar have returned. The War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, made their triumphant return from injuries on Raw on Monday, defeating Alpha Academy's Otis and Akira Tozawa to advance in the recently announced tournament for the World Tag Team Championships. Raw General Manager Adam Pearce had just announced the tournament to champions JD McDonough and Finn Balor earlier on in the evening, and the returning War Raiders, previously of course known as the Viking Raiders, won the first match of the tournament, their first victory together since September 2023. Their return had been alluded to in video teasers featuring the REUNITE alphabet in weeks prior. Otis and Ivar started off the match before Tozawa tagged in. Eric slammed Ivar on top of Tozawa, and the returning team took control of the match. Eric and Ivar took turns sending the smaller man into one another's knees. Otis attempted to turn the match back around, but Ivar interrupted his caterpillar attempt. Tozawa attempted a missile drop kick, but was caught by Ivar. The War Raiders hit a new finishing move on Tozawa, with Eric throwing his opponent into the line of fire as Ivar splashed from the top rope for the victory. The bracket for the tag team tournament has not yet been revealed as of this recording, but the War Raiders are moving on for a shot at the World Tag Team titles. I was talking about the ratings for Friday's edition of SmackDown. Of course, this was the show coming out of Bad Blood, while the red side of WWE saw the immediate fallout of Bad Blood on October 7th with Raw. Fans of SmackDown had to wait a little bit longer to see what was in store for Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and the Bloodline, and many more on the October 11th episode. It seems fans in the United States were eager to tune in to see what action would unfold. According to WrestleNomics, the October 11th edition of SmackDown averaged 1.652 million viewers, which is up 9% from the previous week's 1.519 million viewers. This figure is also an increase of 5% on the trailing 4-week average of 1.576 million viewers, which counts all 4 episodes of SmackDown aired on USA since the move from Fox on September 13th. SmackDown earned the 4th highest average viewership on cable for Friday night, according to Programming Insider, with the 3-hour block of Fox News coverage being the only one to defeat it. SmackDown, though, didn't break into the top 10 highest viewed shows for the evening when including broadcast television. There was also an increase in the key 18 to 49 demographic number, as the October 11th episode earned a 0.49, marking a 4% increase from the previous week's 0.47 and a 2% increase on the trailing 4-week average of 0.48. This number led SmackDown to rank first for the night on cable for the 4th time in 5 weeks in the demographic, beating the 2 college football games that aired on ESPN and Fox Sports 1 respectively. According to Programming Insider, the 0.49 also put SmackDown in 3rd place for the night when including broadcast television, only to be defeated by the Major League Baseball playoff game that aired on Fox and the post-game breakdown show that aired immediately afterwards. And finally, we also have the ratings for AEW Rampage this past Friday on TNT. Of course, it was the final show before AEW Wrestle Dream this past weekend. The Friday, October 11th episode of AEW Rampage averaged 253,000 viewers on TNT, up over 17% from the previous week. It's the 3rd highest audience total for the show since August 23rd. Rampage drew a 0.09 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. That's up 28.6% from the last week's record low, and is the 2nd highest rating the show has done in that category since the August 23rd episode. Of course, the show went head-to-head with college football on both ESPN and FS1, as well as Game 5 of the National League Division Series on Fox between the Los Angeles Dodgers and San Diego Padres. As compared to the same week in 2023, though, Rampage's overall viewership was down over 37%, while the 18 to 49 rating was down over 35%. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.